Hello,
Hey guys.
welcome to another Saturday night stream starring myself and Jen. A bit different tonight. No schlock, no Nazis, no dinosaurs,
No lasers.
no lasers. We're reviewing a fairly serious and fairly good movie tonight. We're
Yes.
looking at David Cronenberg's adaptation of John Wagner's really good graphic novel, A History of Violence. If you haven't seen the movie or read the comic, I recommend you check out both.
Hmm.
Very different near the end, but by and large, the themes are fairly similar and solid. Um, a couple of interesting facts about this movie. This was one of the last big studio productions to be released on VHS. This was released by New Line Cinema, and it was one of the last films to be on video cassette. So it's a bit of interesting trivia there for you. It's an interesting movie in that it one person could look at it and say, okay, this is a kind of mob movie hidden within. Wait, there's a mob movie in here, just a kind of by the numbers, kind of I don't know, Scorsese-esque flick. But
No.
it goes a lot deeper than that, and yeah, I'm interested to get your thoughts because this is your first time seeing this movie.
Yes, it had always been onto my watch list, and the thing I always forget, even though I know it, was that this is a David Cronenberg film because this is not his usual. Even though it has little bits, if you pay attention and you're a big fan, you'll notice little things that are definitely say Cronenberg. But this is not his usual fare, and I find that very interesting. This is a very different. He really went off the path with this one compared to what he usually does, and he does it brilliantly. It shows that he is not just a one-trick pony or that he can only do body horror and those kind of movies. This is a very introspective film. This is a thinking person's film. Don't Wouldn't
Yeah,
you agree? This is a very much of a thinking person's film.
yeah,
And it surprises me. We know how good he is, but it's very different from his usual fare. And Viggo Mortensen gives a hell of a performance. I can't imagine any other actor playing this role. There is a somberness, a quietness to him. He's a very dangerous man, but you wouldn't know it to look at him. And yet there's little clues. That's one thing I like about this movie. There's little subtle clues all throughout the movie.
peppered throughout.
Yes,
There's
exactly. That's peppered throughout that just kind of says he's not all what he appears to be. A very complex role, very good. And even though William Hurt doesn't have a huge role, God, he sure does. The little bit of screen time he has, he just is mesmerizing.
oh, he's chewing
I
the
wish we
scenery.
would have had a little bit more screen time with William Hurt because where Viggo Mortensen is very somber and very quiet and introspective, his brother Richie, not so much. His brother Richie has a little more flash, a little more pizzazz. He would have been an interesting character to learn about too. So I
Just a heads up, guys, as well. We are going to be going in depth in spoilers. Yeah, you're right as well, dude. We can't forget Ed Harris. Ed
yeah,
Harris is menacing as Fogarty.
I
So
and I have a feeling Ed Harris was having a lot of fun. I got kind of a glee from him that he was having a
don't
lot of fun
forget
with
your
this role.
shoes, Mrs. Stahl.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, he's a scumbag and he knows it and he's reveling in it. He's not trying to
yeah.
be anything but what he is. It's interesting.
Oh,
You have one character trying. I don't mean to cut you off, Marty, but it's interesting. You have Viggo Mortensen basically like a snake's trying to shed his skin and not be who he is. Richie, who is just very animated, and then we have Ed Harris, who is exactly what he is. He doesn't
yeah.
try to change his spots at all. Very interesting.
Um, the setup for the movie is very clever because again, there's so much stuff going on. So you want to cushion, or cloak um, Tom Stall, Viggo Mortensen's character, his actions at the beginning of the movie. So what you do is you get these two reprehensible characters at the start, and these guys, Steve McCarthy, who's kind of like the Kmart version of Lance Henriksen, him and another his dude, they're just a bunch of scumbags going around murdering and killing people. And there's a bit at the start where they've killed moteliers, obviously a
Mhm.
family, and a little girl comes out of the back room and she's bawling her eyes out. They callously gun her down. She's of no threat. She's of no danger. And these guys, we establish these are human pieces of shit.
Mhm.
Absolute human pieces of shit. So when Tom does dispose of them, we don't think nothing of it. We're like, we're like, it's like, yeah, we do this in if we were in his place, because these are heinous human beings, and it's clever that it's like it makes us not bat an eyelid to the violence.
Yeah.
That's what I got. That's what I, even though he dispatches them in a very graphic manner, but it's like the whole time your brain's going, well, these guys are pieces of shit. So
Exactly.
fuck it. And you're not thinking, wow, Viggo Mortensen really handled that situation really well. So sorry, well, did you get that impression? Do you think that's why those characters were set up?
Yes, I do. I think they are, because basically it's getting the audience on Viggo Mortensen's side without even the audience realizing that's what we're doing here. Because you want to, you have a character with questionable moral values. You add in other characters that are 20 times worse than R1, and of course you're
Yeah.
going to go on the side of Viggo Mortensen. It is a genius trick. I've seen it done in other movies, but it's got to be executed well. And I also like how we focus in when he kills the little girl, and then we wake up, the little girl, Viggo Mortensen's little girl, is waking up from a nightmare. I really thought that was a smart shot. I liked how we transitioned between the two. I really did.
Early on in the movie, I was kind of worried that you might have thought that the acting might have been a bit kind of ropey,
Mm-mm.
because the characters are very saccharine. But I think that's to try and establish, as I said, that the Rockwellian, Norman Rockwell kind of Americana. Just this is a very kind of, I don't know, what would you call that kind of town? What would you call that kind of like
this
sleepy
is
kind of?
this is just this is like is this is trying to portray this town as American as apple pie, just a very folksy, homegrown, kind of town, kind of a Barney, God damn it, Andy Griffith kind of town, kind of that,
Hmm.
kind of the whole thing. Just very, people could unlock their doors. In fact, there's a scene where Viggo Mortensen's telling his wife to get the gun, and she goes down and the door's not even locked. And I mean, that this is the kind of place where people can leave their doors unlocked and not think twice about it. It's establishing, but like you said, it's very interesting, because at least Viggo Mortensen, this isn't really, he had to work to kind of become this, where everyone else,
Yeah.
there's cracks in it. There's cracks, and I really like that. I really do.
The like again, what happens is these two very unsavory characters come in, and he owns a diner, and they kind of fucking they're incredibly violent, and like you get the feeling one of them's going to sexually assault one of the women in the diner and stuff, and he just, without a blink, he fucking dispatches them with so much ease. But then again, it's misdirection again,
Mhm.
Jen, because we're looking at this guy groping this woman's fucking breast, and this other guy fucking screaming and calling this sweet young couple a bitch and stuff in the thing, and Tom just fucking dispatches them with so much ease. But
Mhm.
we don't focus on that. We don't focus on that because he
I was a
it's
little bit. I actually did. I kind of wondered, okay, this guy, yes, people can do extraordinary things under extraordinary circumstances. Mothers have lifted off cars off of their babies, just because of the
mm,
adrenaline and stuff. You can do that. But watching the film, I was like, I wonder why you have so much skill at this. This seems a little bit more than just adrenaline, or, showing up for the, it just seemed a little bit, I was a little curious. And I kind of wondered, that is one thing I wondered, why his family didn't pick up on that sooner. That was one thing I
well
was a little curious about.
the, that again, I like the fact that they had these two characters as misdirection. That's what I got.
Yeah.
But
Oh
it
yeah.
slowly,
It's throwing so much at you.
yeah. Um, I think maybe it's also kind of insinuating that violence is like a drug. It's like if you get a taste of it again, you just kick back in. I kind of I got that. I got that kind of thing, that like he's just there with the gun and he's looking at the gun and he's just checking and he's just It's just, again, yeah, you could misconstrue it as adrenaline. So what happens then is, obviously, he's kind of like, he's featured in the news and papers and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and he's hailed the town hero. He's kind
Yes,
of
he.
he's hailed the town hero, and no bother, New Jersey, dude, if you gotta go, you gotta go.
Thanks for
He's
stopping by.
hailed the town. He's hailed the town hero, and what you get is, basically, he goes back. He tries kind of just adjusting to life, and then these strangers come into town. Now, like, after he got out of hospital, were you kind of wondering what was going on, or had you kind of an inclination of what might go on?
I had a pretty good. I knew he wasn't who he said he was, and like you said, there are little cracks, and it's brilliant acting, because there's little cracks in the performance that kind of show, okay, he's not exactly what it says he is. And like I said, I had already wondered, like, when I was watching him, I'm like, yeah, he's adrenaline and things, but he's just too good. And the way there was a shot where he's checking the gun, like he grabbed the gun and to make sure they're actually down, and I was thinking,
Yeah.
this isn't just pure luck or pure adrenaline. You know some things. You know some things. I kind of had a feeling he had some sort of past behind him, and he was probably running from his past.
Dave, would you say that this could be? You could also look at this as a modern day Jekyll and Hyde kind of adaptation as well.
Not so much Jekyll and Hyde, because as we find out later in the movie, that person was dead to him. Who he was, that before he became who he is now, he said, that person's dead, and he thought it kind of, this movie basically asks the question, can you get can you be absolved of your sins if you stop what you're doing and totally change?
Well,
And
one of many questions, I think, one of many questions, because there's a
yes.
lot going on in here.
The one
So,
I don't mean to cut you off, Marty, but one thing I have heard people, I was reading some stuff before we went on, and one thing that I have heard people who have a problem with this film says that and I don't agree with this, but I read a couple of people say that they thought it was kind of dumb of him to talk to reporters. And they kind of in fairness to the character, he doesn't really talk to them. They just kind of are like,
they ambush him.
Yeah, they're like vultures, and they come. But I have heard people say they do have a guy who knows that much and has lived that life would be smart enough to stay out of the camera light. But they kind of ambush him. But that was one thing I have heard of people criticizing the movie about, because he does talk to the reporters, and some people are like, they don't buy that his character would have ever done that.
Yeah, in the comic, he kind of dodges, and he kind of tries to dodge the reporters and stuff. But then he surmises that he actually killed the character, Ed Harris's character, in the movie. So obviously, Ed Harris's character Fogarty turns up and starts harassing him and calling him Joey. And the wife is like, "What the fuck is this?" And he's like, "I don't know." He plays possum. And
he reminds me kind of a little kid, like, well, who broke this? I don't know. I don't know any Joey. This must be some other guy. It's, again, very, very subtle, very nuanced acting on Viggo Mortensen's part, but it works. And you can also kind of see him as he's doing it, even though he's not showing it. You can still sort of see his character sweating bullets, and kind of inwardly, he's playing it very cool on the outside, but inwardly, you kind of think he's thinking, "Fuck, what am I going to do? This is a problem."
Hey Art, hey Dino, hey Christian. Also, hello Cara. I meant to say hello to Cara as well. Cara, if you want, maybe I would suggest leaving and coming back when you watch the movie. But so what essentially like he is, as you said, he's trying to downplay it. He's not like, hey, I'm not like, he's not like being super protesting. He's kind of lightly brushing it off, or like, trying to ignore it. Well, if I don't look at it, but you can tell he's sweating bullets. It's eating away at him. He's trying to keep the facade up as well, because when like the sheriff at the town comes in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they keep on thinking I'm this guy Johnny."
I like that was another part I liked, because and his wife goes, "No, Joey," and I thought that is a nice touch, because he's doing it deliberately.
Yeah.
And I picked up on that, and I thought that was a really brilliant touch. How, because the audience, or at least most, I think, audience figured out he knows who that is, but he's trying to throw him off to make it seem a little bit more believable. It was a very nice touch. I really liked that scene.
It starts to affect the family dynamic,
That's what I
because
wanted to get into.
here, I'll let you take that one.
Oh, no! Because I just wanted to discuss with you, because you brought up some interesting things of the movie, and again, it's sort of it's kind of the same question: nature versus nurture. Does violence run? Because his father, his son Jack, he's kind of, at the beginning of the film, he is kind of, he's not a violent kid at all. He tries to, he gets picked on, and he uses his tongue and his mouth and try to use humor as opposed his fist. And then later on, after he finds out his dad, he doesn't know what his dad is yet, but he knows that his dad is kind of a badass and took down all these guys single-handedly. And the kid is picking on him again. And the kid throws out a line, and you think that this is where it really hits home, because he's like, your dad would be real disappointed in you. And that's kind of when the kid goes, because he doesn't want to disappoint his father. And I thought that was an very interesting dynamic, because is it something that's inherited in you, or is it something that
is it genetic? Is it genetic? Is it inherited? Is it the fact that these violent actions are like some kind of horrible STI or infection that has now crept its way into the family?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get into that later on with the dynamic between himself and Edie, because that there's a major change up there.
Yeah,
like again, he's trying to keep a lid on this. Not only has to he protect his family from these outsiders from his past, but he's also to protect his family from like fucking ruining his family. This kind of ideal, or this kind of help me out here. I'm trying to find a word. This whole kind of
this whole facade. He's trying to he's basically trying to keep his two lives from he's trying to keep his past and his future and present from colliding. Yeah, he's really trying to do that. And you can see, and there's another great scene that kind of goes into the whole violence thing, where when his son does find out what he is, and his son is kind of back talking him, and then all of a sudden, and he's used to this one kind of dad, and Viggo Mortensen's kind of had it, and like all parents, we've all had that one thing where and then he just slaps him really hard across. And
Art made that assumption that like he's giving him a lecture about like violence or hitting people doesn't solve anything, and then then fucking just smacks him again. And do you think that's genuine frustration, or do you think that's Joey coming out?
I think it's a little bit of both. We've all, like, all parents, we've all been there with our kids and we regret it, but there's always that, there's always a point where your hand flies out before you think, and there's always a little bit of caveman in all of us, and parenting's hard, but I also think he's under pressure. You got to remember, Marty, he's under pressure. His worlds are literally fighting each other. He's trying to keep his family safe. He's trying to keep up a lie. He doesn't know what the fuck he's going to do. His kid's there, but it's an interesting point, because he was just at the beginning of their conversation, he was saying, you don't handle violence with violence and stuff, and then he makes his point. So I think his true nature is kind of coming out to an extent. It might not be what he wants, but am I making any sense?
No. You are. Again, he's trying, again, as you said, he's trying to keep both lives separate, and that pressure, it's cracking the facade, it's cracking who's there. It's like, and it gets him, like that scene where he sees Fogarty's car parked outside the diner, and he just fucking pegs it back with a knife wound in the foot, and he's just calling his wife to get the shotgun and stuff. And it's funny, because when he comes in and the son's just there with the cereal, like,
what the hell is going on? But I find it very. What do you think of it? Do you think violence is inherited? Do you think you learn it? Do you think it's in your blood? Or
I done psychology. I studied kind of a wee bit of psychology, and I think it's a combo of nature and nurture. I think you can, you might be genetically predisposed, but it certainly doesn't help if you're raised in an environment that kind of like normalizes violence.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually comes into later with Richie as well.
It
with the
does.
story about when his mum brought him home. But we'll get into that when we get there. But like he he pegs it home, and Edie, Maria Bella's character, has an encounter with Fogarty in the mall, and like it sets it up really sinister, but it's just like he's,
Ed Harris doesn't have any interest in the family. He wants Viggo Mortensen, and he's
yeah.
trying to draw him out, and he's using it. Although the mother characters are very interesting to me because I don't think I would have reacted the same way she did. She's angry at him, and yeah, but it's still basically the same person, or at least he's not. I guess it would be somewhat of a shock, but I didn't like how she treated it at the. I don't know, something about it kind of bugged me about her character. I don't know.
I suppose like it's just all the trauma of having mobsters like hunting your husband, or the man you thought to be your husband. Like, that's like I love that bit where he's like not only is he trying to get at Joey, he wants to hurt Joey physically, he's trying to hurt him mentally by telling Edie, look, like
Ask him. Ask him
yeah,
about
yeah. He takes off the glasses. He goes, yeah, I can still kind of see through this eye. I can see right through your husband, Mrs. Stahl. Ask him why he's so good at killing people. And she's like, what the fuck? And she can't, like, this guy's obviously a murderer, but she kind of gets the feeling, okay, this guy is a vicious killer, but I don't think he's a liar. I
No,
don't think this prick's a liar.
no. Out of Ed Harris, probably in the whole movie, he's the only honest person you really get. He accepts and embraces who I am, and this is what I am. And it's a very, and like you said, it's a sinister scene because she's looking. The little girl wanders off. They're getting shoes, and she wanders off, and then he goes, "Oh, I've been watching over her, and you have an enchanting daughter."
But there is this fucked up kind of predatory, honorable nature that is like, as you said, he doesn't give a shit about the family.
No, it's just a one good eye.
His one good eye is laser focused on Tom or Joey. So after fucking Tom slaps Jack, Jack fucks off, and who should arrive after Edie and the daughter come home? But Fogarty's like, look, you gotta come with us to Philadelphia. And they pull Jack out of the car, and he's like, okay. And like he drops the shotgun and goes towards him. And in fairness, Fogarty's like, yeah, go on, let the kid go.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because some mobsters would have just killed him just for fun or hurt him just for fun to, just for more payback. But he's like, these people don't matter. They're just a means to an end for him. They're just a means to an end for him. I like that. And you saw the wife, and I like how Viggo Mortensen, because the wife is going to her son like any mother would and stuff. And I like how he holds her and says, just go upstairs and, basically let me handle this. And she listens to him. For some reason, I like that whole scene and how it played out and stuff. And I wonder again, like she kind of, you get the feeling earlier in the movie that she's kind of the one that, like, he's the more mild one. She's the one that kind of wears the pants in the family, or at least that's how I took it. And I like how the roles different.
I think Tom lets her. I think that also works as a good camouflage for Tom as well.
Yeah, it does.
In that.
That's how it works. He's not a mouse or anything, but there's always one parrot that's a little bit more laid back, and and she seems to be the one that's a little bit more,
So
and
he can let her kind of like fucking make a hoopla and a song and a dance and a big kind of show about things, and he can just melt into the background.
Yeah.
But one of Fogarty's guys stupidly goes up and tries to apprehend Tom. And he goes fucking savage on them. He fucking throat chops and palms this guy in the nasal cavity and drives his nose into his head and gets his gun, shoots one guy, and fucking Fogarty clips him. And there's this brilliant bit where like Fogarty's standing over him with the gun, and he's like, "Any last words, you miserable piece of shit?" And then Joey comes out. He goes, "I should have fucking killed you in Philly." And I was like, yeah, you should have. What did you think of that? What did you think of that scene?
again, we're playing because it's the son. His son basically saves his life. Shoots him in the. You hear a boom, and you're expecting to see Viggo Mortensen dead on the ground in blood, and instead it's Ed Harris and the son standing behind.
I like that because in the comic it's actually Edie that does that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
But I think it works. I think it's one of the again. I think the comic and the movie are equal. But I think, I don't know what it is, but I think Jack killing Fogarty works.
Yeah, I do too.
Better.
I do too, because again, you're playing into the whole violence thing and nature versus nurture. And is this something that his father passed on through his blood, or is this something that the son just sees and is trying to be like his father? There's a lot of questions there, and you can take it and interpret it in a lot of different ways. And the sins of the father are revisited on the son, you could almost say. Yeah. Actually, that's very poetic.
But so, oh yeah, the art, it's by John Wagner, the guy who done the original run of Judge Dredd. But so he gets up and he's got this sneer and look in his face, and his eyes have changed. I don't know how to explain it. His eyes are just that more darker and intense. And he hugs his son. Like, for a moment you think he's gonna fucking punch the son. You think he's gonna fucking, like, what the fuck did you do that for, kind of thing. But he embraces his son, and it's not the embrace of Tom Stahl, it's the embrace of Joey.
Yeah.
It's just.
Do you think he was proud of his son? Do you because again, we in earlier scenes,
because earlier on we have Tom talking like you can't meet violence with violence, but then Joey comes out and Joey's like, he gives him a hug, and it's like, Jack is totally fucking destroyed. I mean, he's balling. He needs his father, but instead he's got this guy who's a fucking hitman from Philadelphia who's murdered people with barbed wire. Like, it's just interesting. But again, it's the detachment. The Norman Rockwell painting is gone.
Yeah,
and his family unit is totally, bar the little girl. His family unit is in total shambles. And, like, it's weird. Like, Jack earlier on, before he and his father had to dispatch the guys, he embraced the violence as well. He embraced the violence. Edie does the same, but it manifests in a different scene after that, and I'm going to let you tackle this because you made a good observation about their first sexual encounter, their first sexual engagement, and the dichotomy of that as opposed to this.
Okay, so we're going to have to rewind a little bit because earlier in the movie, there's two different sex scenes in this movie. And in the first one, this is where, everything is going good and we still have Tom, we still think he's just, a normal, nice guy. And she surprises him, and she does kind of like, I guess for her, she would think it was kinky. She gets in a cheerleader's outfit and stuff.
And Tom responds with like he, holy cow, like golly gosh, kind of
golly wow,
wowee wowzers kind of thing.
Yeah, and stuff, and she doesn't do it in a way like, it's not particularly erotic, it's not particularly sexy. It's like someone who read something and thought, okay, I'm going to try to emulate this, but there's a lack of eroticism and passion, especially the passion, that just doesn't work. The scene is completely vanilla. It is, and you feel like neither one of them are it just doesn't connect on a primal, passionate level like it should, like the way she thought it would in her head. And it's just a very vanilla scene, and it's not even like, you could say, well, sex doesn't always have to be hot and heavy, it could be tender, but I say that that's even lacking in this scene. It's not a particularly tender scene, it's just kind of there, you know what I mean? It's just kind of there. And then fast forward, and then when she finds out who Tom is, the sheriff comes and stuff, and she actually saves his ass because the sheriff is like, okay, something about this doesn't make sense, and you get the feeling like for a minute Tom is going to come come out and say, okay, yeah, I am Joey. And she kind of stops him and she's like, you know, what, we've all been through it. And she's doing the crying jag, and the sheriff leaves, and then she runs from him. And then there's another sex scene, and she's angry and she pushes away from him and stuff. And then, but they have a sex scene, and it's not, you said on an initial thing, you thought it could almost be category as rapey, even though that's not what that is at the first time.
There is, like, it's like when she flees from, he gently grabs her, turns around, slaps him, and then he pins her to the wall by the throat, and she's like, fuck you, Joey. And do you think that's the catalyst where she becomes aroused by the emergence of Joey?
Yes, I think she does. And again, you can argue, because this is something we've heard, that all women want no matter how you know how competent we are, how, you know, we don't need no man kind of thing we are, there is that other side to us that all women do want to be dominated, especially in the bedroom, especially in those kind of scenes. It's been disputed, but there are some people who have that thought that say women do want to be dominated. And so of course, so that part, that alpha male that she's never seen the side of him, kind of would be a turn on, you know, would be a complete turn on.
Like, again, it's complete dichotomy, because where they have the romantic setting, they are literally just like fucking hardcore fucking on the stairs, and it's uncomfortable and it's painful, and like you see later on, Edie has scars on her back.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
They're scraping each other and they're grabbing each other's hair, and it's
very primal. It's very primal is what it is. It's a very primal kind of thing, but it's very much more authentic than what we got in the earlier scene. I feel that this season is way more authentic and way more two people. And I like that this film is filled with little touches, because like you said, later on you get a shot of her back where she has bruises on and stuff. So it shows you again, not that you couldn't interpret that, but it shows again how rough it was and how intense it was.
Like, there's a scene after the sex scene where she comes out, and it's full frontal. She comes out of the shower and she pauses for a moment, and it's like she's cleaned herself off. She's regretted it, but then she sees Tom again, or Joey again, and for a split second, she kind of just lets him look at her, and then fucking tears off. And like, what did you pick up from that, or do you think, like?
Well, there's a part of her that does want Joey, and that probably freaks her out as much, you know, just the thought, because she probably didn't even know that side of her was there. She, you know, she would think she would be repulsed by someone like this, and probably deep down she's like, oh my God, I'm attracted to somebody who's a murderer, who kills people and stuff. And you know, there's a fight with basically everybody except for maybe the little girl in this. Everyone's fighting dual natures of their personality, and I think she doesn't even realize until it's probably something that's subconscious in her mind, that like, oh my God. And so she's disgusted. She's mad at him, but she's probably even more mad at herself.
Yeah. So Tom, or Joey, he's now Joey at this stage, he's sleeping on the couch, obviously, and he gets a phone call, and it's Richie, played amazingly by William Hurt.
Whoa, yeah, that was a hell of a
Brohim. Hello, Brohim. You're good. You're back to that killing stuff again. Pretty exciting. And he's like, look, I want to see you. So he ends up going to Philly and meeting up with a contact and going to Richie's kind of mansion. And it's brilliant because it works so well. It's like the tail end of the movie. The ending to this is very different from the comic, and I might actually not mention the ending to the comic because I don't want to hobble that. But like in the short span of time that the characters share the screen, you feel that these characters grew up together, and there's a whole fucking history. It's like, well, the bar that the contact picked up Joey at. Your man comes down. Hey, didn't you do fucking Jenny Ballinger on the bar?
In front of everybody.
Oh, yeah, you should have. And they embrace, and there's this head touch and stuff, and it's like, fucking cost me a lot. What did you think of William Hurt's character in this?
Oh, I loved him. I wished we would have I think it works the way it does, but part of me just as a movie person, I would have loved to have spent more time with William Hurt. And he has this manic. I mean, there's a whirl and twirl in his eyes, and you get Viggo Mortensen, and you get the feeling yeah, Viggo Mortensen's probably the deadlier of the two, but Richie's probably the crazier one of the two. And you get the feeling, and I like it because it doesn't say like, oh, this happened or this happened, but you get little hints that there's always been a rivalry. Like these are brothers that like have been a pain in each other's asses pretty much since they arrived on the scene. You know, there's no lost love.
Yeah. It was one of the last big studio flicks released on VHS. Dark Light, yeah. But like I got a whole kind of headcanon or back history that like, okay, had nothing to do with comics or anything, but just like, okay, Richie probably got his empire because of Joey, because as you said, Richie's too manic. So he would have probably had Joey do all the dirty work and kind of like do all the fucking muscle, and Richie would have been the mouth. And yeah, it's just I got that feeling. I don't know. What do you think?
I think what I got in my head canon is kind of the same thing you did. I think Richie knew out of the two of them, and Richie's not stupid by any means, but I think out of the two of them, Viggo Mortensen is the smarter one, and I think there's some resentment on Richie's end about this that his little brother is so good at what he does, and he's always going to kind of be in the shadow, even though he's the more flashier one. Viggo Mortensen is the most deadlier one, and I get this kind of, they love each other, but it's or maybe Viggo Mortensen loves him. Don't know if Richie loves him, because there's that scene you mentioned where he's talking to Viggo Mortensen.
Hey, again, that comes into like the juxtaposition. You have the Norman Rockwell life of Tom, and then you have Joey's life, and you could even like that line sets up that Viggo Mortensen's character Joey was fucked from the moment he came home from hospital.
Basically.
Because do you want to explain that? Because that's a brilliant line.
It is, because and like I said, and the way, and again, there's a whirl and twirl and a manic energy and kind of a glee, but under that glee there's a lot of rage and a lot of like, you little fuck have been a thorn in my side ever since came home from the hospital, is basically what he's saying. And he's like, you know, I tried to strangle you and mom came in and caught me and beat the living fuck out of me. And he goes, but and I love how he does it, because he just kind of throws up his hands and he's like, but I guess all siblings do that. And I like that.
Yeah. It's just, that's the way of life for them. So like Joey, it's obvious. It points out even, it points out even harder that like what kind of evolution or what kind of like fucking purging of his personality or persona he had to do to go from Joey, this person who was probably, you know, baptized in violence, to going to Tom, and like, you know, it's kind of tragic in a way as well.
It is, but I do like that. But again, and it points out again that violence has been a part of their lives since forever. This is all they know and stuff. And you almost get kind of in my head canon that Viggo Mortensen was kind of the prodigy of the two, because you've seen what he can do and stuff. Yeah. And Richie's good, but he isn't anything like his brother. And you're just like a little pain in my ass. Like, I've wanted to do this forever. And there's an interesting dichotomy about that. But they're still brothers, so they have that dynamic too. It's super interesting and fascinating.
Yeah, Art points out that like Richie is more motivated by greed, and Joey must have been motivated by family, because that's kind of hinted at in the comic as well, that what he did to Faggerty in the comic was because I'm not going to go into. I'll let people read the comic if they want, but it was so. It was motivated by family, whereas Richie is totally money motivated, and he's like, look, I want peace. Is there something I can do? And then Richie kind of fucking says it. You can die.
That's gonna fix everything. I love it too, and I love the way these two characters are played. They play off. They're like two well placed tennis matches. One of them serves, and then the other one hits back.
Mm.
It's like a dance, and they do it beautifully together. I really love how William Hurt did it, and again, it's just such a manic, and there's a whirl and twirl in his eyes. Like this guy is fucking crazy. Like if you get in this guy's hands, you're fucked.
Yeah. Like as I was saying, as we were both saying, it's like, yeah, Richie, Joey's more lethal, but Richie's more psychotic. Like
Yeah, yeah,
fucking,
he
it's
is.
just, it's just that. So fucking Richie tries to have one of his thugs garrote Joey, and it doesn't go as planned,
No, it
much to the annoyance of Richie as well. How do you fuck that up?
and again it's a comic. It's kind of well, you can take it. It is somewhat of, there is some comic aspect into this scene, but it's also showing how the violence, I mean, it's an everyday occurrence. It's not like,
It
there's
doesn't
no.
phase him. You're
Yeah,
dead right. It
yeah,
doesn't phase Richie. It's like for fuck's sake. It's more
yeah,
like someone. It's more like
annoyance.
fucking yeah. Someone spilt milk on your Persian carpet. It's like for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's not like, and there's no, you get at least, Viggo Mortensen, okay, he's a psychopath, but he is my brother. Richie, brother does not, blood and family does not come into it. He's just a thorn in his side that he's been wanting to get rid of forever. And I like, again, we're focusing on the violence and how the two come, even though they're brothers, have very different perspectives. It's very interesting because again, there's no crisis of conscience where Viggo Mortensen's like, I want peace. Like, I think he's smart enough to know what's coming, but he's still, it's his brother, and he doesn't want to go down that road if at all possible.
I think if Richie hadn't turned his fucking chair away from him, they might have gotten the jump. Because when someone turns their back on you and there's other people in the room, you're like, for fuck. But yeah, so like I thought it was hilarious as well when one of the bodyguards comes in. I was like, oh, looking at them because what the fuck are you gonna do? Give him mouth to mouth?
I liked it too. Again, and it's comic, but again, it's more of an annoyance. There's no crisis of conscience on Richie's part.
Yeah,
That it's his. You even gangsters. You would think if it's family, you might have to do it, but you're not happy about it.
yeah.
Yeah,
This is more like getting rid of a fucking dog that's pissed on your fucking rug.
yeah.
Um, no, it doesn't, Art. There's a whole other beginning. I'll get it. I might talk about the comic in another stream. I don't wanna detract from the movie, but I do check it out. But the thing is, um, fucking obviously Joey gets the best of Richie and fucking caps him, and that's like killing off. Yeah, it's symbolic. Richie is the last part of
Of
Joey's
Joe.
life that he
Yeah.
needs to purge. I like that bit where he goes down to the little pond outside the mansion. That's symbolic. Like, what did you pick up from that?
That he's cleansing himself, that it's all gone, and that Joey is completely dead. Do you think there was any part of Joey that was sorry to have to kill Richie, even though he knew exactly what Richie was? Is there a part, do you think, that he was a little bit, I don't think he wanted to go down that road.
No, I don't think he did. Like he I don't think once you reach the level of Tom, like Tom Tom's kind of ideals has infected Joey's as much as Joey has infected him, and it's like
Yeah.
I don't want like fucking Joey could have gone off and started his own gang, couldn't he? He could have
Yeah.
easily gone off, started his own gang, started his own criminal empire, and keep on being vicious. But obviously, there was something in his head that clicked that said, I don't want to do this anymore. Not explained in the comic, not explained in this. And I don't think it needs to be, but I think if you're smart enough, as you said, this is a thing in Burton's movie, like he picked this reason. He picked the family. He wanted maybe a life that wasn't just fucking swimming in violence and just that's yeah. He obviously, be it whether it's family or whether he didn't want to kill him, I don't know. But at the end of the day, he knew that if he could have fucked off. He could have fucked off and maybe shot Richie in the shoulder, shot him in the leg, incapacitated him, backed off. But he knew
Richie would
that
still
he'd
keep coming.
never. Yeah, he'd keep
He'd
on
never
coming.
end.
So if he wanted to protect his family and kill Joey Cusack once and for all, he had to kill his brother. That was that was it.
Yeah, I thought that, but I did take from the scene though that it was a cleansing scene. Like, I'm done with this. This is gone. This part of my world is gone, and I just want to go home to my family and just live the rest of my life in peace. That this is over. This is literally he's washing off all of his sins, all of his past, whatever. It's a cleansing.
He does. He cleanses himself off. He goes back to his family, but it's not as simple as that though.
No,
Like,
it's not. No, it's not. As we find out in the last scene, the dinner scene, it's not that simple. And you think that there's a part of them that probably knows that. But and I really like how we end this movie. That's another thing. I've heard some people have a problem that the ending is too ambiguous. I don't think it is. Do you? I've heard some people say that
no,
the
like obviously the daughter, the little girl is totally oblivious to this. She gives her daddy the dinner plate and stuff.
Yeah.
And the whole time Maria Bello's character is just looking down like this. She cannot bring herself to look her husband in the eye. And the son is kind of the same, but he kind of like he hands in the tray of meatloaf, and it's like this can be fixed, but the family dynamic will never be the same again.
Yeah.
What did you take away from the ending? Did you take that, or did you think the whole family was fucked from there on in?
I don't think the whole family was fucked. Like you said, I do think that the family they knew is gone. That's gone. And the son, I don't know about the daughter, but the son and the wife will never look at Tom the same way again. I mean, he'll never be Tom. He'll be kind of a hybrid of the two. Yeah. And it's weird and it's different. And you could think it could go many ways. But the son did, when his father, there is love there, because when his father was threatened, his son picked up a shotgun and killed somebody without even thinking twice about it, because it's his dad. And so there is some love there. The one that I think is the most damaged, and it might be with more of herself, was his wife. His wife just didn't know what to make of it or what. But she also, on the other hand of it, she didn't tell him to get the fuck out of the house either. She didn't look at him, but she didn't tell him to leave, or she didn't go upstairs and start packing a bag either. I think there's some hope. I think it's in question, like a lot of things. I think there's some hope, though. I think there's some hope for the family, or I'd like to think so.
Like, if it turned out that I was like fucking a hitman or something, or in the morning, would you dump my ass, or would you be like, yeah?
No, I wouldn't.
That get me extra brownie points. Fucking sexy killer man.
It wouldn't, because I would know who you were, and I would figure you would have good reasons for it. And I see that's a difference between the wife's character and I wouldn't. It might be a shock, but I don't think I would look at you any differently, because I know what I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think, like, again, she points out that the name was fake, his history is fake, but is Tom Stahl real? Is Tom Stahl a real person?
Yes, Tom Stahl is a real person. It's okay. Maybe his pedigree and his background isn't what he says it is, but he still has another part of. There's another layer to him. But I think basically that's a difference. That's a dichotomy between him and his brother Richie. Is I think there was always a bit of humanity in him, and I think he was a little bit deeper than his brother, and not so crazy about his brother. So I think that there was always, I think there was a little bit of Tom before Tom was ever came.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Again, as I was saying, like, he could have easily gone off and started a gang or something. Also, did you see Art's comment there?
If it's on the stairs, it's on.
I tell you what, we'll meet in Mattress World. We'll meet the furniture store. But no, again, great movie. Comic is very different. If fuck it, the ending is different. As in, Richie isn't an antagonist. Richie is actually being tortured for 20 years in the comic, and Tom decides to rescue him, feeling guilty, and Richie asks him to euthanize him at the end. because he's had his limbs cut off and lost an eye and a nose and genitals and stuff. Very different. Still a good book. Still a good book.
Do
Takes a
you
different
prefer
direction,
the
but
Do you prefer the book or the movie out of the two? Which one do you prefer the more?
this is one of the few cases I actually
Prefer the movie?
no
Well,
both.
they're right on
They're
the same.
both. They're both because they like it's I don't know how to say. Have you had like a movie with like an alternate edition or an extended cut or something, and like you like the original theatrical version, but you also enjoy the extended cut?
Yeah, there was one there is one that the where I will say the book or the movie's actually better than the book. I cannot think of what it is right now, but I was talking to Christian about this. There is one, and I usually am always a person that always says the book is better, but there is and I'm blanking on it right now, Marty. But there is a movie that I thought did it better than the book, did it way better than the book. It doesn't happen often.
But have you ever come across a medium or something that is actually you appreciate both
Both of
versions
them.
equally?
Yeah, there have been a couple of times with that happening with music, believe it or not. I know that's a different thing, like different covers of songs where you can. I guess that's not the same thing as a movie, but in a way it is. I mean, it's still the same.
Don't get me wrong. I have been a book wanker in the past. I've been like, I don't like Preacher. I don't like Preacher. So yeah, Eastern Promises. That's one we might look at down the road as well.
Okay.
If Jen wants to, it's up to her.
Yeah, I'm very glad because this has always been one that has been on my to watch list, and I'm glad I finally got to watch it. It's a very good. It could be a contender for one of my favorite Cronenberg films too. And I like that it's very different, but there's also little subtleties that you can recognize as Cronenberg's work, which takes a special director to do, but can do both, walk the lines of being completely different and yet you still recognize little signatures.
It is. It's a kick-ass flick, and Jen's 100% right. There's so many little nuances that you'll notice when you watch it, and yeah. Again, also, I if you can find this on VHS, hold on to it because it's probably worth a fortune because it is, as I said at the start, and as a dark light. I think that was the person who said
yes,
it.
It was.
It's one of the last big studio movies to be released on VHS, so maybe it's worth a queer penny or two. But yes, I digress. Next Saturday we'll be back to reviewing schlock and porn and bad sci-fi and the whole fucking lot. But before then, my lovely lady, my baby, what do you got? What do you got in the pipeline?
Well, there'll be a few. There's going to be a few reviews. I don't know what Christian will be putting up next because he's gone right now. But we did do a lot of videos beforehand, and I think I know we've got a review for the Night House coming up and a few others. And stay tuned for the Night House review because guys, Christian and I have very diverse opinions on that. Oh boy, do we!
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That should be fucking awesome, and I'll pimp the daylights out of it.
It's Christian, but you might not because I don't know. One of us I'm just gonna say this. One of us really loved the film, and another one of us had a lot of problems with it.
So. Well, so long as he didn't come to blows.
No, nothing like that. Although I think I did mortally hurt Christian because it's one of his favorite directors, and it's interesting because you'll see.
Okay, check out that review when it comes out. Tomorrow night, guys, I am continuing my 80s animated action series with two of the big teams from the Big Apple. The Ghostbusters and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we'll be talking about the cartoons and the toys. So tune in tomorrow at the same time. And then at the end of the month, I am handing my channel over to this lady. What are you going to be discussing? What are you going to be discussing?
People are going, no, Marty, don't do it. Just she's gonna get you canceled. We're gonna go back to the 80s, because it's not all about you boys, guys. I mean, us chicks had very cartoons that sold us shit too, and we want to talk about it. We are gonna be having a very, very deep discussion about girls' 80s cartoons with a big emphasis on my particular favorite, Strawberry Shortcake. And Marty might even be my peculiar purple pie man of Porcupine Peak.
Rat-a-tat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. I missed the chat. But yeah, no, tune in for that, guys. And yeah, I just have to thank this gorgeous lady next to me.
You don't have to think. This was always a blast, Marty. This is whether we're doing schlock or doing something serious, I always have a blast. And this is one movie I've been wanting to see. So, and I always get to spend time with you. That's always a plus. You make everything better.
We've turned our date nights into a media enterprise, so to speak. But again, this lady, I gotta give props to this lady. She's gorgeous. She's fantastic. The light of my life, and she knows her stuff. So definitely check out her channel. Whatever on my channel, definitely check out her channel.
Check out his channel as well. He gives great action figure reviews. He gives great view, and he's very diverse. You're going to get a lot. You're never going to get bored with Marty because he's very diverse, and he knows his stuff as well. He knows his stuff probably better than I know. So definitely check out his channel because you'll always get some fun diversity.
There's a lot. You know more about me. You know more than me. So don't go kind of cutting yourself short either. But I digress. Before I go, Art says my daughters love Strawberry Shortcake. So obviously there's a newer version. She survived. She's had so many incarnations. Have you seen the newer version?
Yes, and it's at Not My Strawberry Shortcake. It's only about the 80s with Mr. Sun and Huckleberry Hound. Yes, and Peculiar Purple Pie Man of Porcupine Peak and Sour Grapes. Ooh, weedy, 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 woo.
I love you, but you're mental. Right, with that, guys, we're gonna call it a night. So see you later.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.